Welcome back to another episode of Emotional Nightmares. I am your host. My name is Tyler. And on today's episode, we got with us another guest. His name is Jeremy. Jeremy's going to share with us his recovery story and about how he managed to go from death to something, right? So with that, Jeremy, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself real quick, we'll go ahead and do that.
Well, Jeremy Eichenberger. I'm originally from Wasilla, Alaska, and this is my story.
Very short, simple, to the point.
Yeah, man, I'm a pretty basic guy.
I like it. So, all right, so Jeremy wrote a book.
Yes, sir, I did. I actually published my first book about 4 years ago, so it was the first version of this.
Okay, so we go through a lot of nonsense. I'm gassy today. I ate a bunch of gummy worms. I got an obsession with them. So what made you decide to turn all this chaos and all this painful past, what made you turn it into a book?
So it's kind of a weird story, right? So I was mixed up in a lot of different things that provided me a look behind the curtains of the more unknown versions of society, right? The criminal background, the partiers, the people that experimented, and it was all great. It was fun for the longest time. I had a blast. I got to meet a lot of cool people, go to a lot of cool places, and it was never a problem. But then when I was 25, I actually got hurt at work, and I had never really been seriously injured, like broken bones here and there, nothing major, right? Stuff that's just inconvenient. But this time I broke my back, and I actually lost the ability to walk for like 9 months. And, like the first couple of months, I was laughing about it. I had a whole bunch of Vicodin and a bunch of other, like I was like, oh, yeah, this is great, And, but what I didn't realize is that I had never taken opiate painkillers consistently for so long. So I didn't really know how they worked, right? Like I knew that if you took a 10 milligram Vicodin with 2 beers, you're going to feel real damn good, but I didn't consistently have it. So right. I took that mentality, except for I was taking 10 to 15 a day and drinking and still maintaining this lifestyle of this going partying, whenever I could. I'd throw parties at my house and, walk around on crutches or go to the bar on crutches, and it was a big game. Inside of the first year, it got so wildly out of control that I kind of lost touch with reality itself. I just kind of started fabricating my own version, my own narrative that I was fine and everybody was worried too much and to leave me alone, and that isolation kind of drove me further and further into the actual addiction. Before I knew it, it got bad. It got real bad.
So you were good at lying to yourself, right?
Oh,
like where you
massive.
Yeah, I mean, you're describing denial to a T, right? Like, yeah, I'm fine, everything's great.
Like, and I talk about it in the book specifically, like, I could become the person that you wanted me to be in that moment, just so you didn't ask questions. And I used that ability to get away with it for forever. And I mean, even after the injury, there was a whole nother 7 years after the injury that I was still actively eating painkillers and drinking myself stupid almost every night, and nobody caught on. Like, it was the wildest. And I thought, oh, I got away with it. I fooled this employer. I'm negotiating business deals. I'm starting a business, and it was crazy that these people believed me, because I was just like, wow, And I mean, the money started rolling in when I started my own business. Like at one point I was making $1,200 a day plus per diem plus mileage, which worked out to be like $9,000 every Friday. So I made so much money that I didn't know what to do with it. So that just increased my partying. And then I
of course,
pay people to inflate my ego while I did drugs. So essentially, I just had a whole group of idiots that would follow me around for free drinks, and nobody ever questioned my behavior, ever.
I mean, there's no way nobody didn't know that you were doing it. I mean, if you're nodding out.
Right, like at one point I made like $300,000, and like the neighborhood I grew up in, people made 50, 60 maybe, in a good year. So they would try to give me advice, and I'm like, what do you know? Look at my life, look at your life. You know what I mean? And as arrogant and shitty as that sounded, that was literally the person you were dealing with. Like, you're not going to give me advice. You don't know shit. I'm obviously doing well. And
I mean, that definitely is like, I mean, that'll keep you sick all on its own, right? Like
absolutely.
that concept of like, nah, like I'm still functioning in life, so therefore, like if I'm doing better than you in life financially and stuff, like then you obviously don't know what's going on. I mean, I get that, right? Like we talk about, unfortunately, like addiction is one of those things where we always look at the outside experience of people and start looking at like, what do you have financially, instead of like, oh shit, like I might do better than you financially, but like you're happy. I'm miserable.
That was the crazy part, because that was before I even had any kind of understanding what addiction was. Because for me, when somebody said they were an addict, I would think of, the show Intervention, you know, and I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not cooking up heroin in a spoon, hiding in a bathroom of my parents' house and, shooting up dope. So it was like, okay, maybe I have a problem, but it's not as bad as your problem. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like for me, I was like, it it felt different, or at least I had convinced myself that it was different. But was what the crazy kicker was is I one of the companies I worked for, I worked with a guy who his addiction was food. And I know this sounds weird because
Not the.
I didn't even realize that that was an addiction, right? Like I thought that was like something people made up, but I would see his face when like his food would come and he would become elated, and he was a pretty heavy set dude and he was super awesome. He was a nice guy, very genuine, and like he had told me that his addiction was food, and that he was trying to lose weight. He was always trying these programs and all these crazy things to try to lose weight, and I didn't pay any attention to it, but I started noticing like the joy that would overcome his face when the food would hit the table, and I'm like, holy shit, is that addiction? Is that what it looks like? Is that what I look like? Because
Mm.
I'm drinking West Virginia moonshine, getting blackout drunk until 2 o'clock in the morning, getting up at 5, going to work, smelling like booze, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm functioning, I'm fine. And then it started to make more sense. Like I started to deep dive into this, and I'm doing my research on my own because I'm starting to think, shit, maybe I do have a problem. You know what I mean? Like the seeds are now planted. Like I can't unsee that face now because now that's all I could think about. And I'm like, shit, what do I look like when I get my fix, whether it's booze or painkillers or whatever it is, what does my face look like? You know what I mean? Like, do I
Yeah.
make that same face? I didn't, like, I never recorded it, but I was like, it really started making me think, like, is it really that similar? And that blew my mind. Like, that's really what started the whole thought process.
So your book was Letters to Your Child.
Yeah. So that's like I had started writing letters in the first year of my injury because like I said, the first couple of months was kind of like a party. It was like an extended vacation that I was getting paid for, right? But my benefits got controverted. And at the time, I'm a 25-year-old kid. I graduated high school. I don't even know what the word controverted meant. Like I didn't own a dictionary, I just got a letter in the mail that said, "Hey, your benefits have been controverted." What that meant is we found a loophole and we don't have to pay you.
Right.
And that's really what started spiraling the whole depression and like cuz now I had at the time he wasn't even 2. So he's running around in diapers, they got to eat, and I had no money like whatsoever, so that's causing anxiety. And because I can't provide and I'm injured, now the depression hit and I kind of had a nervous breakdown because I didn't know how to fight this. Like I'm not a lawyer, you know what I mean? Like I don't know how to fight a company and get this stuff back. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I kind of flipped out, sold all of my shit, and moved all the way to the lower 48. That was my solution. I moved all the way to Indiana. I was living with my uncle in South Bend, Indiana. That lasted like a hot 3 weeks. Called my buddy up in Detroit, moved up to Detroit for like 90 days. That was cool until I found out he was a heroin addict. And I found that out when he beat the crap out of his girlfriend. And then the cops raided the house the next morning looking for him. So I hightailed it down to southern Indiana to live with my sister. And I started doing better. But then I ended up in some shit and I actually got stabbed at a party and ended up on probation. And mind you, I'm still drinking at this time, but now I'm on probation where I got to pee in a cup.
Yeah.
So after I got out of jail, first thing I did was went and got a beer, right?
Of course.
Yeah, so I went and I got.
Sounds normal.
Yeah, I got trashed, whatever, I spent the night in jail or spent a couple nights in jail, not a big deal, and she's obviously pissed, but I had to go take a piss test like a couple days later and I failed. I didn't realize that PO was not kidding around. Like he was dead serious. Like I wasn't allowed to be drinking, right? So he let me slide on that one. Well, I didn't quit drinking. I didn't even what do you want me to do, man? So he calls me up like a week later and tells me I got to take another piss test. And I know I've been drinking. I know I'm going to fail. And he said he was going to put me in jail. And my option was probation or 4 years in Wabash prison. That was the plea deal. Take the probation, pay the fine, or do 4 years in Wabash, which is a bad prison in northern Indiana. It's where AB's big, and it's not a prison for a smaller, or a smart mouth white dude to go to. Not a good idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously I took the plea deal,
Yeah.
But I knew I was going to fail that drug test, so I did what anybody else would do. I jumped bail and hauled ass back home. So now I'm living at my mom's house, 25 years old, still a broken back, on the run from the law in 3 states. And it's finally starting to settle in how screwed I am, because now I'm a fugitive from justice in 3 states, still have a broken back, still have no money, and I'm heavily addicted to painkillers and booze. And that's when the letters started. And I was like, okay, I got to be realistic here. There's a good possibility that I'm going to die. It's a very solid possibility. And
So it all started in a sense because basically you just felt like you were going to die. So you just wanted to write to your child and say hey, here I am.
I was trying to die. If we're being honest, I was trying to die.
That's fair.
But I had tried previously to convince myself to pull the trigger, and I couldn't do it because part of me still didn't want to die. So I figured that if I just OD'd, that wouldn't be as bad. It would still be traumatizing, I'm sure, but I didn't think it was going to hurt. That's the part I was scared of, is that it was going to hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never been shot before. I don't know how long, before you realize that you're dying, but I assume it hurts, the whole time. And I wanted to avoid that. Whatever I had to do to avoid that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So my favorite question to ask on here whenever I'm speaking with anybody from addiction, my favorite question to ask is you're going through addiction, you're going through a street life, you're going through near-death situations and everything. At what point was that, oh shit, if I just change something?
Man,
that rock bottom point that's just you know what? I just got to change something.
What was crazy was actually while I lived at my mom's house, I started realizing that I had to make some changes. And that's when I discovered that I was able to turn it off. I was able to turn off the addiction, right? And at first it was a couple days, then it was a week, and I was like, shit, I can control this. Yeah. I was I can do this anytime I want. So I'm excited because now I'm daring people to dare me to do it. You know what I mean? And then I'd be sober for 10 days and I'd be like, all right, well, I can go out and have drinks. You know what I mean? And then I'd start the whole process over and I would drink heavy for a week or whatever, or maybe 2 weeks. I don't know. I honestly don't really have much of a timeline of that whole time period. If you ask my mom, it was probably pretty bad all the time. Like, in
I'm
fairness,
sure it
you're
was.
probably right. But the longest I ever went was like 30 days. And I remember I had made it 30 days and I called my buddy and he's like, dude, there's a concert at the Beartooth and we're going to go see the concert and it's going to be a good time. And we'll do some drinking and it'll be a blast. And I'm like, I'm sober, dude. Like, I don't want to drink. And I went to this concert. Everybody's drinking, having a good time. Everybody's shoving beers in my face. And I'm like, no, I'm not drinking. And I made it through the whole damn night. And I was like, dude, you did it. Like, you got this. And we got
Yeah.
back to my house, and I had a bottle of whiskey in my room. And then I was like, fuck it. I deserve this, right? I made it through the whole night. Look at me go. I got this. And
Yeah.
and then it started all over. And then it was like, damn. But that shit went on for forever, man. It was weird because I talk about it in the book. So it was several years later, and several traumatic things happened that kind of kept me in this perpetual cycle. And I would use those as justifications to do it because, oh, you don't understand what I'm going through. This is the reason why. You know, I had seen people die, and, you know, like any excuse I could use, I would do it. You know, and I mean, some of them are pretty valid, I guess. But for me, it was just another reason to keep going and not be.
I mean, I think addicts in general, right? Like I always tell people, like I give you like a million excuses to go get high. I got excuses right now why we should go get high. I just I don't have like a valid reason. Like
Right.
we can come up with excuses all day. Unfortunately, I just can't come up with a reason. You know?
I can't see a benefit to it anymore. And that was when I knew that, like, I was finally done. And that happened out in West Texas. Um,
Did you go to rehab?
no, I never went to rehab.
Okay.
I thought about it. I actually called the show Intervention because I thought, you know, like these guys, I'm gonna get to go to rehab for free,
Yeah.
right? Nah, worst advice ever. The dude just told me to
Yeah.
go to AA.
I like that show, but it did do a lot of more damage than it did good, I think.
Yeah, like it took
It,
some deep
it
Googling to get their phone numbers, and I finally got a hold of the guy named John, the old man John. And this is back mid, you know, in between 2010, 2015, I think, somewhere in there. And the dude's like, just go to AA. Like, you don't think I've already tried that? Like I went to AA, man, and my sponsor was also named Jeremy, and he beat up his grandma for money for wine. Like that was the end for me. I was just like, dude, I've never beat up an old lady for booze. Like I'm not like you, man. I can't even be here. I can't even take you serious now, you know?
so so you got this moment, right? You get this moment of like I got to do something different. I'm going to do something different. You know, most of the people that are listening, at least on my show, um, they all go to rehab, right? For the majority of it, it always ends in jails, institutions, or death. But like, so you don't go to rehab. What do you do?
So this is where it gets super weird, right? Like I
I love
said,
weird.
like I said this earlier, you know, I kind of was able to justify my lifestyle because I made so much money. So it was hard to argue with me. And, you know, for me, like I felt like I took care of myself. I knew I treated my body pretty poorly and I wasn't like in perfect health, but I was all right. And I was working for a company out in West Texas on an oil rig, and I got a phone call, and it was my doctor in Indiana, and they're like, "Hey, you know, we need you to come into the office on your last, you know, screening. We noticed an issue, and we need to talk to you about it, and we can't talk about it on the phone." You know, I'm like, "Look, lady, I'm here for another 6 weeks. I don't got time for your shit. Just tell me what's going on." You know what I mean? Like money's more important to me, and I'm not coming home for another 6 weeks. Like just give me, you know, the basics. She's like, "Oh, I'm not supposed to, blah blah blah," and I like harassed this lady into submission to just tell me because at this point I'm lazy, I'm arrogant, and she tells me, "Oh, well, all right, fine. We found an anomaly on your lung, and it doesn't look good, right?" That's how she leads off, and I'm like, "Well, what does that mean, right?" She's like, "Well, it's usually cancer." Wait, what?
Kind of a hell of a way to say, well, you know, it's usually cancer.
Yeah, yeah. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, shit, man. I mean, totally plausible. Treated my body like a circus, you know,
Right.
smoking cigarettes at 15, did asbestos, lead work, you know. Okay, I shouldn't be surprised, but I was. And I did, like, for me, I was just like, well, shit, now I'm dying? Like, how dare this lady tell me this news like this? You know, let's miss the fact that I basically forced her to tell me. But
Right.
I was like pissed off now that she told me. She gave me a death sentence over the phone. How rude. You know what I mean? So that was like 3 days before the end of my hitch, and I went back to my camper, and I did what most addicts would do in that situation. I'm dying, so I just got pissed drunk. Got high as shit, pissed drunk, and I stayed that way for like, I don't even know how many days, honestly. I lost count. And I'm just making like all these excuses, and I'm just mad as shit. Like I'm so pissed off at God or whoever's responsible for this bullshit that I'm like making these hateful phone calls to these people, and I'm like, I'm fucking dying, so I might as well just tell you exactly what I think, and that's what I did. Scorched earth on every relationship I had, and I'm just shitting on all of these people, treating everybody like straight trash. And this is how I'm informing them that I'm now dying, because I've now basically just, well, hell, we're dying. We might as well, go back to plan A, which was shoot myself or whatever, so I didn't have to suffer.
Yeah.
And that goes on for a while. And I kept seeing this video on Facebook, as one does when they live in a camper in West Texas. You watch Facebook videos drunk as shit, feeling sorry for yourself. And this guy, um, he runs a company called I'm a Comeback. His name's Mark Jennison. And his video keeps coming on, and it's like a loop. And I'm like watching this shit. I watched it like 9 times in a row, and I'm thinking, how dare this guy sit on Facebook telling me how to live my life, and that if I'd pay him, he could teach me how to live like him. And he's like this gym bro, he's got the muscles, the tank top, the cool hair, and I'm like, this dude, like, how dare this arrogant son of a bitch tell me that he can fix me.
Yeah.
And at the end of his video is a phone number. So like I'm sitting there and I'm like working myself up because I'm gonna call him. Like I've already made all these other calls. And I'm like, I'm gonna call this dude and I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind. And this takes a little bit to convince myself, and I rehearse a script, and it's a good script. Like I'm gonna read this guy the riot act. And I call the number, and I remember this like it happened yesterday. I call the number, ring, ring, and then the voice from the video picks up. Hello? I don't have shit to say. Like, I straight lock up. I'm like, and I rehearsed this thing for a couple of hours. It had to have been at least a couple, it could have been a whole day. I don't know. You know, but I couldn't even speak. Like I was just like stunned that the voice from the video that I had been obsessively watching and angry at answered the phone. So I'm sitting there like a dumb shit, just quiet, you know, angry as all hell, and I'm just sitting there like he's like, "You all right, dude?"
Mm.
I'm like, "Nah, not really." He's like, "You want to talk about it?" I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, I'm trying to hold back like this emotional reaction because like for whatever reason that phone call just I felt like I was in the right place. And we
Mm.
talked for like 3 hours, man. And I can't remember all of the conversation. It was a lot of me venting and a lot of him listening. And then he would give some advice. You know what I mean? And this went back and forth for like 3 hours. And of course, he pitched the idea of going to his program, and, told the price and all that. And the price is pretty high. I really couldn't afford it. I mean, I probably could have. If I tried, I probably could have.
Right.
But I'm still an addict brain. You know what I mean? So I hang up with this dude, and for whatever reason, I felt lighter. And I don't know why or how I got to that place, but like I felt like this time, this conversation with this total stranger that I had fully intended on insulting, like something happened. And
Mm.
it's weird because it was like everything everybody had ever told me was like gibberish. It was like they were speaking pig Latin. But this one dude, this stranger on the internet, broke through that wall and like made it make sense. And that following morning, I dumped out all the booze, all the painkillers are gone. And I just started a program, man. I just started doing push-ups every morning and journaling, and that was the start of the whole thing.
Oh,
And
I'm very happy that you mentioned journaling, right? Like
I
I'm
love it.
huge on I'm
Dude,
huge on it. I make
dude,
all my clients
so
do
good.
it. Like I'm so huge on it because like at the end of the day, if I write it down and then come back to it's crazy. And like the way that it just kind of gets all that shit out. And like I always tell them, like I want you to write about like I feel like this and why. Just that something so simple, right? And like for me, it's understand. I'm huge on understanding the patterns of behaviors, right? And like by journaling, I'm able to see my patterns of behaviors to where I'm able to say like, oh shit, I'm fucked up. Oh shit, I'm starting to fall back into this pattern, or I'm starting to fall back into this. You
Right.
know what I mean? So like I'm huge on journaling.
No, I still do it to this day, which is crazy because like
Good, good, good.
I I feel like I'm at a level of sobriety where I probably don't need to do it, but it's like a comfort thing now. So it's like anytime I'm feeling stressed or anytime something's weighing on me, if I write it out, like then I can reread it, I can revisit it, and it's like my own personal time machine. And it's nice because like you said, if I write it down, it's out. It's out of me. It's like a poison that I've extracted, whatever
Yeah.
it is. And then now it's trapped in this tiny little notebook that I can throw in a drawer and I don't have to think about it, but it's gone for the moment. So between the journals and the letters that I had written and sloppy letters, horrible grammar, misspellings, like bad. When I got with my old lady, we met there in Jacksonville, Florida. I was like, hey, I've been thinking about writing a book. This is what I have. And it was like a folder with what could be best described as maybe Ted Kaczynski's early work. You know what I mean? It was just disorganized gibberish, hateful
Yeah.
nonsense, and like, but there was some pieces in there that were gold. Like it was real advice. Like a real human had actually wrote them. You had to decipher what the hell it was, but there was something there. So she starts reading this stuff, and like she's getting an emotional reaction from it, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I'd never seen somebody like get emotional while reading my stories, my life. You know what I mean? And she's like, this is a book. This could help people. And I was like, no, like, really? And that was the whole quest. I mean, and I met her inside of my first year of sobriety. So when we met, I had built up this persona that like I was good. You know what I mean? Like I told her I was sober, but like I kind of made it sound like I already had my shit together.
As do
Surprise.
most people.
Yeah, like, hey, by the
Yeah.
way, I'm just white knuckling this whole thing, making it up as I go, and
Yeah.
yeah, like we organized
Yeah,
it.
we don't talk enough about that. Like, I, I should be talking more about that. I think with the listeners is that, I think I think we kind of addressed it somewhat in our second season, but like at the end of the day, like you can put down drugs and alcohol. That don't mean shit. That just
No,
means that you quit using drugs and alcohol. Then like that white knuckle is exactly what I think a lot of people do is they get into the whole, well, drugs and alcohol. This is how I describe it, right? Like we're not stupid. 1 + 1 = 2. We get that. So if I say to myself, like, here's this thing. If I drink this, all this bad shit happens. Well, if I stop drinking this, all this bad shit'll stop. Well, no kidding, right? Like
yeah,
that's simple math. Yeah, it's simple math. But the problem is not only not all that bad shit might stop happening, but now I'm left with all the shit that I've been masking because of me drinking. So now it's all the pain and the emotions and like I'm just a whirlwind of shit about to happen, and like I always tell my clients like you get out of rehab, and just because you got drugs and alcohol put down, you don't got nothing to offer. Like you can't just show up at some girl's house and say like, yeah, this is me, and then you fall in love, and it's like, oh, by the way, now here's all my insecurities and all the shit that I didn't work on because like I just quit drinking. So you deal with it.
sure if this is a no-go for you, but I'm basically a train wreck of a human being. Are you into that by chance?
Yeah, right? Well, if they're a good alcoholic girl, they will be. They'll be like, well, yeah, I'll fix you.
Yeah, well, and that was the problem is like in my addiction, there was no shortage of females that were totally fine with me being a complete shithead.
Oh, yeah, they
So,
want to fix you.
well, not even that. They would be at the bar drinking with me, getting crazy, doing stupid shit, because I had
Yeah.
unlimited funds. So it was like it was almost like they were a cheerleader for my own ego, like starting on the center line, number 42, egomaniac Jeremy Eichenberger. What
Yeah.
are we gonna do
Yeah.
now? Well, we're gonna drink tequila until I pass out at the bar, or get in a fist fight with the bouncer as he's trying to escort me out to an Uber. Like
So you might as well get married.
right, like I constantly just justify any behavior because there was people constantly supporting it because it was a free ride. So I never
Yeah, I mean, because
actually do anything.
and that's the thing is like when I was out using drugs and alcohol, the people that are around me were also just like me. So if I'm catering to everybody and I'm like for me it was cocaine, right? I had a lot of cocaine and I never ran out. But like it was, well, yeah, like you can be an asshole to these people or just treat people like shit or have no regard for a human life because like you're gonna give me free cocaine. So like yeah, you feed my addiction too. So it's that trade off. It's that I'm feeding your addiction, you're feeding my ego,
Right. And it's
which
a
is
fair
also my
trade
addiction.
in life, like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
well, at the time, it's a fair trade because you make these own justifications for any behavior. It doesn't really matter what, like, oh, you're going to kick me out of this bar and lifetime ban me? Well, there's 500 other bars in this town. Like, what do I care? Like,
Yeah, yeah, it's a wild, wild existence, you know.
yeah,
So let me ask you this, right? Because I've been told and asked to write a book, and I've been thinking about it, and so I guess this is more of a personal question. Because I've been thinking about writing. My problem is so, like, how did you decide what to include and what not to include in your story? Because, like, for me, I've been thinking about it, but for me, that's a lot of people are dead, but there's still some people that are alive that I'm like, well, I have to change the names to protect the guilty. You know?
well,
Like,
it depends on
not the
how
innocent.
long ago it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, so in my book, I do mention people by name, but I also got their permission, or I use their nicknames or abbreviate their names, right? So it doesn't really hold anybody, like, there's no legal ramifications that can come from any story in my book. They happened forever ago,
Right, right.
or the person's dead. So, I mean, realistically, what are you gonna do? You're
I
gonna
mean, have you had family or anybody like? Because I'm always worried, like, if I do write something, I'm gonna have like somebody's family that's gonna be like, "Hey, I know this story. Like, why did you put this in there?" Or, you know what I mean?
so
This is what's always turned me off from doing it.
there's a story about a friend of mine who was killed in another state. And I use his full name because it's kind of like an apology letter to him. Because he was really one of the first people that realized that, hey man, your life is a little much, you know what I mean? And he tried to have these honest conversations with me, and he's from Abbeville, Louisiana. So he had the coon ass accent, you know what I mean? Like a smooth talker, like.
Yeah.
And for me, at that point in my life, like it was hard enough for me to take him serious because of his accent alone. And we were really good friends. And unfortunately, he was killed. And this is like before I even quit using, and I took that really hard. But I wanted to pay respect to him because now, at this age, at this level of my life, like he planted seeds because like he was trying to give me a warning. He was trying to kind of snap me out of it early, and I didn't listen. And I felt a lot of guilt after his passing. But his daughter actually got a copy of the book. And mind you, she was like 3 when we all hung out. And like now she's an adult and she's, she's going to college. She's incredibly intelligent. Like he would be super pumped. And I felt like it was a responsibility to include him in there. And she read it and she's like, that is the best description of my father. Actually, on the original version with just the picture of me standing by the bridge on that Amazon, one of her reviews is from her. And she's like, this is the best like description of my dad because although what ultimately cost him his life was the world of addiction and the crime that goes with it, that's not who I knew, right? Like,
Right.
I knew this good dude who had literally everything, and addiction still got him.
I'm glad that you say it like that, right? Because like that's one of the things that like bothers me a lot, right? Is like you always hear people talk about like when somebody passes away from addiction or drug related stuff as well too, right? Whether it be like they're murdered or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You always have that voice that it's like, well, wait, time out, because like they are like my cousin, for example, right? I'll use him as an example. My cousin Brian. A lot of people were like, man, he's such a piece of shit, and I'm like, yeah, he was in addiction, but outside of addiction, like that man would be in the trap house talking about God and why you need to go to God. And he actually led a lot of people out of the trap house to rehab because I sold drugs in the trap house and it pissed me off all the time. You know what I mean? Or like, I'm sitting here like, Brian, like you're fucking up the customers. Like, what are you doing? And like, or like when I overdosed, he held me in the shower all night. And it was like, so like he might have been a piece of shit, but like he was a good guy. You only knew the piece of shit because it was the addiction was taking over. So it puts us in these lifestyles that, if it wasn't for the drugs and the money and the alcohol and stuff, we wouldn't be that in that lifestyle. You know what I mean?
That was the crazy thing about Kyle is like I met Kyle as I worked as a detailer at Knife Ford, and this is after I got fired from being a salesman. They hired me to be a detailer, and this is before I ever got into oil and gas. So this is like dick poor, barely surviving mode. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
totally
Lots of
functional.
ramen.
Yeah, a lot of ramen, a lot of Bud Light. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I met him. He was a car salesman. He got that smooth talking, you know what I mean? Like he was a smooth talker, he was a salesman. He was a real salesman. I was like, yeah, man, like he invited me to be his best man at his wedding after like knowing him for a couple of weeks, and I thought, this is ridiculous. This is absurd. Like you don't even know me, dude. I'm just some shithead car detailer, but we were so connected on this like weird level. Our birthdays were on the same day, 2 years apart, you know what I mean? And like our life stories were so similar, but he was at like a different level in life because he had the wife, he had the daughter, you know what I mean? And he had things going for him.
Right.
So what did I do? I invited him to my chaos, and I'm like, hey man, come over and see what kind of bullshit I'm in, And I don't know what possessed him to actually agree to it, but he came over to my house and it and I remember this night because I was like, hey man, you know anything about growing weed? Why? I'm like, well, we just robbed a drug dealer for all their weed plants. And now we got a bunch of babies, and they're in my bathtub, and I don't know how to grow weed. And he's like, let me look. There's like 37 weed plants in my bathtub, and I like a makeshift lighting system in there. And he's like, dude, you're gonna freaking kill every single one of these things. Like this is terrible. Like, what are you doing? I honestly don't know. you know, like, but that was kind of like his dipping his toes into the chaos that was my life. And at that point, like I lived in a 4 bedroom, 5 bedroom house with 9 other people that were all punk rock, just shitheads. I
Yeah.
talk about it in the book. Like it was just a house full of shitheads. Like every single night of the week was some crazy shit going on. You know what I mean? Like it was not uncommon to find naked people passed out in the hallway and drugs all over the place, But I thought I was having a blast,
Oh, of
and he's
course.
trying to, yeah, he's trying to have these like philosophical conversations with somebody that's loaded up on Adderall and Coke, or high on shrooms, and like I'm like, you don't get it, man. I'm having a blast, Like this is my life. And I didn't listen, man, and I regret that. I really do, because when I got the news that he was killed, I was like, damn, did I do this? Like, is this my fault? Because he started using again around us, and it started off small, and I didn't really think much of it, and then it got wildly out of control, and to the point where, like, the last conversation I had before he moved back to Louisiana, he was actually living in a tent behind another guy's house that we used to work with, and he had actually went in that dude's house, stole his wallet, took his ATM card, went down to the store to buy liquor and cigarettes just so he could get a fix right before he left. And that was really the last conversation I had with him. And I mean, I tried to stay in contact with him, but the time difference and all this. And it was weird because, like, a month before he was killed, like, I called him, but it was like 3 a.m, Louisiana time. And of course, I'm high. I'm,
Right.
and I'm trying to explain this dream I had where he had been injured and it felt real. So I'm like fucked up trying to explain this dream, and he's having none of it. It's 3 a.m, and he doesn't want to hear my bullshit because he's got to work. And obviously, I interrupted his sleep, and that was the last conversation I had with him. And I carried that guilt for forever. And like, adding his story to the book is kind of like my apology to him, because now that I can't, like, I really regret that I can't have those conversations anymore. And it just sucks. It's like this gut punch, because it's like, fuck, man, if I had made this decision, if I had listened, and maybe if I had listened, maybe I could have kept him from this. And
I mean, that's a big cross to bear.
yeah,
And it's not. I mean, no matter how you look at it, right? Like, we're only in control of our own life, and even that is shady, right? So, like, addiction, like, unfortunately, and I know, because, like, I've carried that survivor's guilt around quite a bit for, like, I've lost a lot of people, and, like, we carry around that survivor's guilt a lot of the time, and, like, learning to let that go is, like, no matter what course of action I would have taken would not have prevented this. It would have prolonged it. You know what I mean? Because I could have gone, like, if I would have went right, sure, this other person that was involved might not have gone right, but they would have just a little bit later. You know what I mean? Because they would have done it
always
without.
possible, right?
Yeah, you gotta look at things like that.
Yeah, and that's been the biggest struggle, and
Yeah, it's still a daily struggle for me 20 years later. You know?
I'm so grateful for my old lady to be in my life, because she helps me keep that in perspective, right? Like, I'll have
Right.
these down days where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how I'm going to make it through today. And she just convinces me that you're doing fine. So I'm starting to get emotional already.
I see. That's good. That's good. I mean, we all go through it. Like, I know, I lost a lot of people close to me, and, like, the one guy I consider my brother. I mean, he is my brother. Like, his kids call me all the time. You know what I mean? Because they're young, real young, and they'll call me and be like, oh, it's my birthday, and I'll go down there and be like, man, if only your dad was here to see this. And, like, it still eats at me. I should have been available, but I wasn't. And it was because, like, I was going at the time that he died. Like, I was going through a divorce, and, like, I was gonna be down there on a Friday, but, like, shit got fucked up, and I wasn't able to get down there on Friday. And on Sunday he was dead, and it was like, damn, if I would have made it. And, like, but at the end of the day, all that shit would have happened whether I was there or not. You know what I mean?
And it could have been worse. That's the thing.
It could have been worse. I could be there with him.
Right. Like, there's so many different scenarios, and we don't allow ourselves to think that way because it's weird.
Our ego.
Yeah.
It goes right back to the ego that we started off with. Is like, I'm so powerful that if I would have just done this, no, they would have done it differently.
Right. Like, let me put my hero cape on and keep that needle out of your arm, man. Like, it doesn't work like that. And I know it doesn't work like that because, like, I've learned that it doesn't work like that, but there's still part of me that's like, damn,
Of course.
if that phone call would have made a little bit more sense, or
Thus is survivor's guilt. It's one of the hardest things that we don't talk enough about in this world at all, you
yeah.
know?
I've been working through a lot of that this year because I'm coming up at the end of July will be my 6th year sober, and I've gotten to a point now in my sobriety where like I'm not obsessed about it. I don't even think about it. You know what I mean? Like it's just another day, and I can almost say like I'm kind of bored with it, but I know it's still necessary.
I mean, you described it in your book as living free.
Yeah, like I don't I mean I literally have booze in my house and it doesn't have the same impact anymore. You know what I mean? Like I can remember craving it and thinking I could not survive without it. Like I had intricate plans like to go to different liquor stores so they wouldn't see my face every day and then get suspicious. Like I had routes, I had plans, and then I figured out I could pay cabbies to go get my stuff, and then I didn't even have to go in public, and they would just go pick up my supplies, and I would tip them, and you know what I mean? Then it didn't even matter. It like I put more planning into my addiction than probably a bank robbery. It was
Of
disgusting.
course.
Like I
Of
was
course.
so committed to staying screwed up that like if I had actually channeled that into anything useful, I don't know where I'd be. I
Amen to that. You gonna write any more books?
I am. I actually, what was crazy is the completion of the first version, right, was such a milestone for me that even though like I had to deal with all the publishing nonsense and then I had to re-release it, like for me, it was such an outlet that I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe not this same genre. Like I want to try other genres to see how much I like that. Um, the next book is actually a children's book in quotation marks. Uh, and we're storyboarding for it right now. A buddy of mine, Mikey Ard, who's a tattoo artist back home in Alaska, wants to draw the cartoons for it. But essentially, the book title is called Fuck Off Nightmares. And it's about two parents that go to extreme lengths to get rid of the things that go bump in the night.
Yeah.
So waterboarding the boogeyman and just like silly stories to make parents laugh because if you have kids, everybody's dealt with the things that go bump in the night or the monsters under the bed. And I want to write something that's just for parents, just so they laugh a little bit because parents don't get
Nice.
enough credit for the things that they do for their kids that are so ridiculous and make no sense. Like,
Yeah.
but and it's not even like a credit thing. Like my son used to be afraid of something in the closet, so I would burst in his door with an unloaded firearm, like I have firearms, and I always made sure it was unloaded. Don't worry, guys. And I would like kick open his closet door and point the gun in there with the flashlight and the laser, and I'm like, no, he ran, and he would laugh, and then he'd go back to bed. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he saw the gun and he took off running. You know what I mean? Like, it would make him laugh.
Yeah.
And, like, those silly stories, although probably inappropriate, it made him laugh. So, like, I thought I was doing something good. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I want to turn that into stories that make other parents laugh because there's so many ridiculous things that you go through as a parent that you're just like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, I've checked under the bed 47 times tonight. Go to sleep. Like, there's nothing under there.
Yeah.
Like, I can assure you, I've personally inspected this space. There's literally nothing under there.
Yeah, kids are wild.
But, I remember being a kid and, like, the way my mom's house was set up, the laundry room would cast a shadow over the hallway, which the bathroom was at the end of the hallway. And as a kid, I would run and jump over the shadow because if my foot touched the shadow, the monster in the laundry room was going to get me. So, like, it's so ridiculous. Like, now that I'm, like, storyboarding this, I'm like, wow, I really was afraid of a lot of weird shit when I was a kid.
Yeah, I think
Like,
we all were.
unreasonably weird things. You know what I mean? Like, and I want to
I
write
think
something
I
to make
think
parents laugh.
as kids though, it's because we had that imagination. You know
Right.
what I mean? As an adult, like we tend to lose that. I remember as a kid, we used to have this white dot on our house, and back in the day, it was for the fire department, right? And I watched this episode of G.I. Joe, and like they had this white dot, and what it did was it shot out information, right? Now, mind you, this is like the internet's not even invented at this time when I'm a child, right? This is in this would have been the 80s or 90s in that time frame. So the internet's not even invented. This shit's unheard of. You know what I mean? But in my mind, I'm laying in bed thinking, like, if I move, the, like, Cobra Commander and all these bad guys can see what I'm doing because they're shooting this information across the thing. And my grandmother's sitting here like, will you just go to fucking bed? Like, this isn't real. There's no information. And I'm like, but you don't know because I saw, Cobra do this. And like, so like we have those imaginations as kids that like, man, I kind of wish I had it as an adult,
Right. Well, and it would be nice if you could turn that on and off because I think as you get older, you kind of become not bored with life, but things become very predictable.
Yeah.
And especially even in the addiction community and the sobriety community. And I think that's why I say that I'm kind of bored, but I wouldn't go back because I know that going back isn't going to make it exciting again.
Well, if you're bored, that means you need a new goal in life.
That's exactly
why I got bored, so here we are in a podcast.
Right. That's the thing. It's like now I'm filling it with hobbies and like, you know what I mean? Because as an adult, I'm 43 and like, I don't socialize, I guess, really, because I socialize a lot at work. So by the time I'm done with work, like I'm very open with all my guys on my team. I cover 19 sites all up and down the Eastern Seaboard. So I got, hundreds of guys that work with me and I have conversations with them about everything. So by the time I get home, I'm just burnt out. So I don't really have friends that I associate with. And I recently started associating with a guy I actually met playing Call of Duty, and he lives in Florida, and we actually got to hang out last weekend. And I just sat there and bullshitted with him for like 5 hours, which is unheard of. You know what I mean?
Nice. Are you on Xbox or PlayStation?
Both. I'm on both.
You have to add me on Xbox. I'll play some Call of Duty with you guys.
1982 on both. Play a little bit of Helldivers. I play COD. All of it, whatever it is.
Well, I'm on every game. I'm on Xbox. It's Tai Wu 1017.
All right.
As in Wu-Tang.
You're a Wu-Tang fan.
EY. Yeah, I am. I got them tattooed all over my body.
That's the skateboarding music right there. That's how you get in your flow state for skateboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My cousin Brian was he was a semi-pro. He could have gone pro, but heroin got in the way. He used to skateboard for Team Illiterate, and they wanted him to go to the blind team. And of course, heroin got in the way, so they wouldn't take him.
You remember Brandon Novak from the CKY videos?
Yeah.
I mean, similar story, right? I actually had an opportunity to stop by one of Novak's houses. I have a site in, it's called Cherry Island, and it's there in Delaware. And I Googled it, and there was one of his houses was like 3 miles from there. And I was like, I'm just going to go stop by. I'm just going to go see if this dude's there, And I was going to just drop off a couple of the earlier versions of the book because I have a box of them, and I've been just kind of handing them out to promote. And I knock on the door, I'm like, this is super weird. Because, like, if he answers, like, I don't know what I'm going to say now. You know what I mean? I've only seen him on TV. I have no business really being there. Luckily, he wasn't there. There was this kid there, and I gave him the books, and I explained the story, and he's like, yeah, I'll make sure I give one of these to Brandon. Like, he'd love to, I'm like, yeah, dude, I want to help, But it's crazy the amount of people you meet in this community.
I wanted him to come on the podcast. He does a thing about, where he gives out his phone number and everything, and he does this big long spiel, and I wanted him to come up to the rehab and talk to the guys and stuff, and then come to find out he wanted $30,000. I was like, yeah, bro, like that's not.
Jesus, man, I wish I was at that level. Like I can't hate on him for it.
I can't be mad because I mean, at the end of the day, like he is whatever. I know. I don't care if we got extremely famous and was known worldwide. I'm never charging anybody to do that. Like that I can't do that. Not in the name of recovery, If
I can find a way to get paid to do what I enjoy and help people, but not charge the addict, I think I would be comfortable with that. Like if I could get other people to pay me to help them, then I'm okay with that. but I couldn't honestly say.
That's what we're doing here. We're
Right.
trying to get all these social media sites to pay us so that we can help addicts and not have to charge the people that are struggling.
Right. And
Like,
that was
that's kind of the goal.
like with the re-release of the book, like my first editing team and publishing team, they put it out and like a paperback was $27 and a hardback was like $36. And it pissed me off because I looked at what I would make and it was $0. And I was like, explain to me how you're going to charge almost $30 or almost $40 for a book that's supposed to help people, and I make $0. And it turned out that they put it on basically the paper was panda skin. Like it was just high grade paper, you know what I mean? I'm like, first off, when I'm talking about addiction, like I'm talking dudes
Right.
that are lucky they have a 20 in their pocket.
Yeah, I'm talking about shooting up with mud puddle water, and you're talking about panda paper.
Right. Like I can't justify a $30 book that's about how fucked up I am and how I figured out how to not be fucked up anymore to inspire
Yeah.
you to not be fucked up anymore, but also expect you to take $30 and pay me for it, to which I make $0 on. So then there's no reciprocal anything, because I can't do shit with $0. So I'm charging
Yeah.
you a bunch and I make zero.
Yeah, the
How
math
can I
ain't
help
mathing.
anybody?
Yeah, it's not mathing. No.
Like if it's gonna be $30, I should make 29 of it at least. Like I wrote it.
Oh, amen. All right, so where can we? So I'll put all your links in the description to where they can get your book because it's on Amazon.
It is.
It's on all that fun stuff. Social media. You're on TikTok, right?
I am. TikTok handle is Mr. Defiant. So I do videos on there, like motivational videos. I talk about the book. I'm very open with my life. As awkward as that transition, the more I share with people, the more they open up. So I've been challenging people to open up with their stories, and it's actually gaining a lot of traction. And honestly, I think it's really doing some good work out there because I'm allowing people to see behind the curtain of my life, the shit that makes my skin crawl, the shit that I'm embarrassed about. And the more honest I am, other people see that somebody's doing it. Because for me, before I got sober, I just assumed I was the only one that was fucked up. I didn't do any research at all, and it was a very selfish and ignorant thing on my part because I couldn't possibly be honest with anybody about my shit. So thus I never got better. But now that I've become honest and I wrote the book and basically every horrible thing I've ever done is in here. But then there's some glimpses of like some good I did. That's why there was a re-release.
Yeah.
People had called me and they're like, "Dude, you're not that much of a piece of shit. Like honestly, you did some really cool shit, man. Give yourself some credit. Damn."
Nice.
So, but yeah,
You got this yellow van. This one's you. It's got like a yellow van as your profile picture.
That's the one.
All right, I just added you.
Nice. Yeah,
Just
there's some good
added
stuff
you.
on there. And hey, come aboard. Let's have conversations. I'm open. I'm here to help.
All right, so as always, man, listen, you guys could have been anywhere in the world today for whatever reason. You sat here, chose to be here with us for this hour. We appreciate you. I greatly appreciate you. If hopefully you heard something here that can help you in your journey of recovery, in your journey of trying to find peace. If not, then hey, by all means, there's a billion podcasts out there. Anybody with a computer can start one. So go find somebody else. I don't care how you get there, just get there. As long as you get help, man, you don't have to live like this today. You can be better. So hopefully you find something to be better. If not, keep coming back and hopefully we'll help you along the way. You can reach me anytime if you're really struggling. We're available 24/7. So, with that, man, thank you guys for listening. Like, share, subscribe. You know the drill. Do the whole thing. And we appreciate you. So, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely.